previous lecture we looked at models which are production and consumption models, which means if we consider a particular item, we can produce this item at the rate of P per year, while the demand for this item is D per year. So, obviously, in order to meet the demand, our production rate P has to be greater than D or greater than or equal to D, or most of the times P is greater than D. So, when P is greater than D, we produce this item, and while we produce we also consume, and since the production rate is higher than the consumption rate, there is an inventory buildup at the rate of P minus D here, and we produce up to a particular time T1, and then we stop production and consume from the inventory that has been built up. So, we stop production here after T1, this is time, this is inventory, but this graph is for the item and not for the facility that is producing the item. So, as far as the item is concerned, inventory is built up at the rate of P minus D for a period T1, production stops, and then this inventory is consumed at the rate of D till the inventory position reaches 0, then the cycle starts all over again. So, once again from here it is again produced for a period T1 and again consumed for a period T2 and so on. So, we derived the expression for the economic batch quantity, which was called EBQ, very similar to EOQ. We also said that there is a setup cost that is involved every time we start producing it, because if we draw a similar figure for the facility that is producing, then the facility is busy making this item up to period T1, and then the facility again starts making this item once again at this point and is busy for a period T1. So, in some sense the facility is not busy with respect to this item for this period T2, and if we assume that the facility will be used to produce some other item, then while coming back to this item at this point in time we need to change over, and therefore there is a changeover cost or a setup cost which was denoted by C naught to be consistent with the earlier notation. So, we derived expressions for the economic batch quantity. Now, we will look at what happens to the economic batch quantity if we allow back ordering. In the earlier version or in the earlier model, we did not allow back ordering. So, we started producing as soon as the stock reaches 0. So, there is no back ordering. Now, if we allow back ordering for the same item, now this is time, this is inventory. Let us assume that the inventory is at 0. So, we produce as well as consume. So, inventory is growing at the rate of P minus D. Now, we stop production at this point and start consuming, let us say we come to 0. Unlike the earlier model, we allow a certain back order in this case. So, we do not produce immediately, we allow a certain back order and then start producing at this point. So, production once again begins at this point, this is parallel to this, and then once again we consume. So, this will be parallel to this and so on. So, now let us define certain notation for this. So, let us call this as T2 is the period where it is produced and consumed and there is a positive inventory buildup. Production stops here. So, there is a period T3 where the available inventory is consumed. So, at this point the inventory becomes 0, then there is a back order that is built up Now that happens for a period T4 where there is no production, there is consumption but there is no stock to consume, therefore there is back order. And then once a back order is built up here, we start producing here, which means there is a back order. We produce first for a period T1, produce and consume for T1 and also to meet the back order, and at this point the stock becomes 0. Then there is a positive inventory buildup which goes on. So the cycle essentially is from here to this point, which we can call as capital T, which is the cycle. So the cycle comprises of 4 time periods T1, T2, T3 and T4, where there is production during periods T1 plus T2 and there is consumption for periods T3 to T4. So this is a production consumption model with back ordering. Let us also add some more notation to it. Inventory is built up at the rate of P minus D here, it is consumed at the rate of D here, it continues to be consumed at the rate of D here and is once again built at the rate of P minus D in the other case. We will also define IM as the maximum inventory that we have in this system, and we will define S, which is this height, as the back order that we build in this system. Now let us try and write down the necessary total cost equation for this. There are 3 costs. There is a cost of setup, there is a cost of inventory and there is a cost of shortage. So if we produce in this cycle T, if we produce a quantity Q, let Q be the quantity that is produced. So total cost is made up of 3 terms, which is the setup cost, the inventory holding cost as well as the back order cost. Now the cycle time is T and every time we produce a quantity Q. So number of times we set up will be D by Q, that is the number of times this item is set up in a year is D by Q, because D is the annual demand. C naught by our definition is the setup cost. So D by Q C naught is our total annual setup cost. Then we have to model the inventory holding cost as well as the back order cost. So we said the total inventory that is held in a cycle is the area under this curve, which is half into base into height. So half into IM into T2 plus T3, that is the total inventory. So total inventory held as half into IM into T2 plus T3, but in every cycle the cycle length is capital T. So this much inventory is held for a period T2 plus T3, 0 inventory is held for the period T1 plus T4. So average inventory will be half into IM into T2 plus T3 plus 0 into this divided by capital T. So we get divided by another capital T. Average inventory is total inventory by time. So total inventory of half into IM into T2 plus T3 is the total inventory held, that is held for a time period T2 plus T3. 0 inventory is held for the period T3 plus T4. So total inventory is half into IM into T2 plus T3. Total time is T1 plus T2 plus T3 plus T4, which is capital T. So average inventory is so much. So average inventory into CC, which is the cost of holding this average inventory. So this is the inventory holding cost, plus we have the back order cost. So total quantity back ordered is area of this triangle, which is half into S into T1 plus T4. So plus half into S into T1 plus T4. Now, if we look at this cycle, this is the total back order quantity. So, that is held for a period T1 plus T4. Back order is 0 for a period T2 plus T3. So, total average back order is half into S into T1 plus T4 divided by T1 plus T2 plus T3 plus T4, which is capital T. So, divided by capital T. So, this is the total, this is the average back order that is held in a cycle or at any point in time. So, that is multiplied by Cs, which is the back order cost. So, we should also note that back order cost Cs and inventory holding cost Cc have the same unit of rupees per unit per year. So, Cs is also rupees per unit per year back ordered. This is the average back order quantity at any point in time. So, this is the function that we have to optimize, but then this function has several unknowns. So, Q is an unknown, Im is an unknown, T1, T2, T3, T4 and T are all unknowns, S is also an unknown. What are known to us are D, C naught, Cc, Im is also an unknown, Cc and Cs are the known quantities. Now, from this diagram we also realize that several of these unknowns are related to each other. Therefore, we try and get equations relating these unknowns and try to reduce the expression in terms of two unknowns, which are Q and S, as we did in the earlier models, and then try and partially differentiate with respect to Q and S. So, first we have to write a whole lot of them in terms of the other known and unknown quantities. So, from this particular figure, now first thing is we can write a few equations. Now, we have this quantity which is Im, which is the maximum inventory, Im will be P minus D into T2, because inventory grows at the rate of P minus D for a period T2, and the same Im is equal to D into T3 because it is consumed at the rate of this. So, D into T3. Now, S, which is the quantity that we have here. Now, from here S is this quantity. So, S, the quantity back ordered is P minus D into T1. So, S is equal to P minus D into T1, which is also equal to D into T4, because this is the consumption for demand is at the rate of D for a period T4, that is the back order. So, S is equal to D into T4. We also have Q, which is the quantity that is produced. Now, whenever we produce for a period T1 plus T2. So, Q is equal to P into T1 plus T2. And in a cycle, for example, the cycle starts, this is a cycle and there will be one more cycle here. So, whenever the cycle starts, actually the inventory is 0. Therefore, what is produced in the cycle is consumed in the cycle. Therefore, Q is also equal to D into T. Q is also equal to D into T. And we also have from similar triangles, this is Im, this is S. So, Im by S is equal to T3 by T4. So, Im by S also, this is T1, this is T2, So, once again from this similar triangles Im by S is equal to T2 by T1. Im by S is also equal to T2 by T1. Now, let us write a few simple equations from this. So, from this we can write, now these are all the relationships. So, from this we can write Im plus S is equal to, now Im plus S is equal to P minus D into T1 plus T2 P minus D into T1 plus T2. Now T1 plus T2 is equal to Q by P. So, this is equal to P minus D into Q by P, because from here T1 plus T2 is equal to Q by P. So, Im plus S is equal to Q into 1 minus D by P. Now, this is a very important equation which we will use to relate Im, S and Q. So, this is one important relationship. Now, we also have P minus D into T2 is equal to D into T3. So, P minus D into T2 plus P minus D into T1. So, P minus D into T1 plus T2 is equal to D into T3 plus T4 D into T3 plus T4. Now, we take this D into T1 plus T2 on the other side. So, P into T1 plus T2 is equal to D into T1 plus T2 plus T3 plus T4. So, we also know that this capital T is T1 plus T2 plus T3 plus T4. So, this is equal to dt. From this we can also write another thing. So, if A by B is equal to C by D, each is equal to A plus B by C plus D, that is one thing. We can also do one more thing here, which is Im plus S, add 1 to everything. So, Im plus S by S is equal to T3 plus T4 by T4, which is equal to T1 plus T2 by T1. We can actually write another thing, let us not do this, let us do here. So, this is equal to T2 plus T3 by T1 plus T4 is equal to Im plus S. Okay, we can write another thing from here. So, Im is equal to P minus D into T2, which is equal to D into T3. So, this is P T2. So, from this P into T2 is equal to D into T2 plus T3. So, P into T2 by T is equal to D into T2 plus T3 divided by T. So, we have an expression for T2 plus T3 divided by T here. We also need an expression for T1 plus T4 divided by T, which comes from P minus D into T1 is equal to D into T4, from which P T1 by T is equal to D into T1 plus T4 by T. So, we have that. Now, from this you can write T2 plus T3 by T is equal to P T2 by dt. Now, dt is q. So, P T2 by q now we also have from here we can have another relationship T2 plus T3 by T is P T2 by T. From here we know that T2 is equal to Im by P minus D. So, this will be P into T2 is Im by P minus D. So, P Im by Q into P minus D. Similarly, T1 plus T4 by T will be equal to P T1 by dt, which is P T1 by Q, which is P Im. Now, from here T1 is equal to T1 is equal to S by P minus D. So, P into from here P T1 by Q. So, from this T1 is S by P minus D. So, P into S by Q into P minus D. So, now we have derived all these expressions that relate all of them. So, all we now need is to substitute them. So, when we substitute, you get T c is equal to d by q c naught, that comes from here. Then we have half into Im into T2 plus T3 by T into Cc. So, half into Im into T2 plus T3 by T into Cc. So, Im into Cc into T2 plus T3 by T, which is P Im by Q into P minus D. This is written as Im into Im divided by Q into 1 minus D by P. This P is brought back into the denominator as division by P. So, you get 1 minus D by P plus half into, now the third term, half into S by T into Cs. So, T1 plus T4 by T we write from here. So, we have S by 2 into Cs plus half S into Cs, S by 2 into Cs into T1 plus T4 by T, which is Ps by Q into P minus D. So, this is written as once again into S by Q into 1 minus D by P. Now, we have written this on simplification will give us d by q C naught plus C c by 2 I m square by q into 1 minus d by p plus half into C s into s square by q into 1 minus d by p. Now, we still have 3 variables here which are I m, q and s. Now, these 3 are also related and we have the relationship which is I m plus s is equal to q into 1 minus d by p. So, now we go back and substitute for I m as q into 1 minus d by p minus s. So, this will become d by q C naught plus C c by 2 into 1 minus d by p. Now, I m square will become q into 1 minus d by p minus s the whole square. So, this is q into 1 minus d by p minus s the whole square by q plus half into C s into s square by q into 1 minus d by p. So, now this is written in terms of only 2 variables which are q and s. Now, we have this expression, we can partially differentiate this expression with respect to s first and then get an equation or value for s, and then we partially differentiate this with respect to q and then substitute the value for s and try to get the final one. Then we have a very lengthy derivation which can be done. So, when we partially differentiate this with respect to s and set it to 0, dou T c by dou s equal to 0 would give us, these are the 2 terms where we will have s. Finally, we will have an expression s is equal to q c c into 1 minus d by p, q c c into 1 minus d by p divided by C c plus C s, and then we have to partially differentiate this with respect to q, and q actually comes in all the 3 terms, and then we need to substitute for this s into that and solve it. We will finally get q is equal to root over 2 d C naught into C c plus C s by C c C s into 1 minus d by p. So, this will be the final expression for q as well as for s. This will give s is equal to q c c into 1 minus d by p C c plus C s. Now, once we know all the values of s and q, we can calculate s and q because all the other things are known, and once s and q are known, we can go back and calculate T1, T2, T3, T4 and the total cost and so on. So, that is how this formula works. So, let us take a numerical example and show what is the effect of this. Take a small example. In fact, we consider the same example that we used for the earlier model. The earlier model does not involve back ordering. This model involves back ordering. So, we take the same numerical illustration and then we give a value for Cs and find out what happens to the total cost as well as to the economic batch quantities. So, we go back and work out the same problem as such. So, we consider D is equal to 10,000, D equal to 10,000, C naught is equal to 300, Cc equal to 4 and P equal to 20,000. Now, in addition we consider Cs, which is the shortage cost in this case. So, Cs is equal to rupees 25. Equal to rupees 25. So, once we consider this, the first thing we do is we need to find out Q. So, Q is equal to root over 2 into 10,000 into 300 into 29, which is Cc plus Cs, 25 plus 4. Note that both of them have a unit of rupees 4 per unit per year, rupees 25 per unit per year. Cc plus Cs divided by Cc into Cs, which is 100, 25 into 4, into 1 minus d by P, which is 1 minus half, 1 minus 10,000 by 20,000, which is 1 minus half. So, this on simplification would give us a value of 1865.48. $1865.48 is what we get for this. And then we also have S. The moment we know Q, we can get S. S is equal to QCc into 1 minus d by P divided by Cc plus Cs. So, this is 1865.48 QCc into 4 QCc by Cc plus Cs is 29 into 1 by 2, 1 minus d by P is half, so into 1 by 2. So, this gives us S equal to 128.65. Now, we can calculate IM, which is the maximum inventory. From this equation, Im plus S is equal to Q into 1 minus d by P. D by P is half. So, Q into 1 minus d by P is 932.7. 932.7 minus 128 would give us something like 804.09. Now, once we know Q, S and Im, we can substitute here to get the total cost, or we can substitute either here or here, they are one and the same. So, this is easy to substitute here or here to get the total cost, and the total cost for this would come to, on substitution, the total cost would come to 3216.38. 3216.338. Now, in order to see the effectiveness of the back ordering, the only thing we could immediately do is to see what happens if we did not allow back ordering. This model allowed back ordering, this model did not allow back ordering. So, we could go back and compare with the numerical result of the numerical illustration if we did not have back ordering, or if Cs is equal to infinity. So, when Cs is equal to infinity, this model will automatically become this model. We have anyway solved the same numerical illustration for the third model or for the other model. So, when we do this, we get Q is equal to 1732.05. I am just writing the value here. Now, this is the economic batch quantity when we did not allow back ordering, or when Cs is equal to infinity. Now, in that case, the maximum inventory was 866.03, Im was 866.03, 3403 in that case, and total cost in that case was 3464.10. Now, what do we gain by comparing? The first thing that strikes us is when we have CS or when we can allow back ordering, the total cost comes down 3216 versus 3464 when CS was infinity. The same result when we go back in time to compare the first two inventory models for items that we buy, where we showed that if we allow back ordering, it actually works out cheaper per year than the case without back ordering. The case without back ordering can be seen or assumed to be CS equal to infinity. So, the cost comes down. Now, what happens to the total production quantity per cycle? Now, when we allow back ordering, the quantity that we produce is 1865.48. So, for the same annual demand, T, which is the cycle, becomes smaller because this quantity is higher. We can also show, even though we have not shown it explicitly, we can show that in this model actually the cost is a trade off between this and these two put together. In fact, at optimum this cost will be equal to those two costs. For example, we can easily show that now when Q is equal to 1865.48, the number of times we produce in a year is D by Q, which is 10,000 divided by 1865.48, which is 5.36 into 300 is 1608. So, this component is 1608, the total is 3216. So, obviously this is equal to this. So, what happens here is the production quantity per cycle is higher and slightly lower, the cycle length or duration comes down slightly. Secondly, there is, even though the production quantity is slightly more 1865.48, there is a back order which is also eventually cleared, and then the average inventory here actually comes down to 804 against 866 in the earlier case. The average, the IM maximum inventory that is there in the system comes down because of the back order, and the total cost comes down because this IM is essentially held for a slightly shorter period compared to 866.03 being held. So, inventory cost comes down, back order cost goes up, but eventually the order cost balances these two costs and the total cost comes down. So, when we have the production consumption model, if we can allow back ordering, then we allow back ordering. The result is very much dependent on the value of CS that we have. So, only if we know CS accurately, or if there is enough protection in the system in terms of additional inventories and so on, then one could think in terms of applying this model. But if we are not sure about CS and if we do not have the extra cushion of some additional help, then it is better to assume CS to be infinity and then use the earlier model and not try and optimize further on the cost by allowing for back ordering and assuming a certain CS. The strength of this model lies, or the usability of this model lies in the exact computation or exact estimation of CS. So, if CS can be estimated accurately and it is not going to hurt us if we allow a back ordering, then this model can be used, otherwise this model has to be used. Now, let us come back to the old model where we do not allow back ordering, which is this model. And let us do a few more things. Now, let us assume that we have this for one particular item. Now, when we worked out this model, we also said that for a particular item, the production starts from here, stops at time period T1, there is an inventory build up, then the production for that item stops. The consumption takes place from the inventory that has been built up. Now, if we start looking at the same graph from the facilities point of view, then it will look like this. Now from 0 to T1 I am producing this item. Right now I do not do anything, then once again from here I produce this item and so on. Now for this period T2, where we consume from the built up inventory, earlier I had mentioned that it is quite likely that this will not be kept idle and this will be producing some other item. So let us assume that it produces a second item, and then so let us assume that the second item actually starts from here and the second item's cycle is this. So which also means that the second item's next cycle will be like this. Now if you consider two items, the yellow is the second item, the white is the first item. Now once again the second item is produced up to a certain time period, and then from this period to this period at the moment our equipment can be idle. So what we do is we produce a third item, let us say that we have here. So the third item comes from here and say the third item is produced up to this. So the third item is produced up to this. So once again the cycle now comes here, maybe for this period the facility is idle and then the next cycle begins. So if we look at this facility and 3 items, this is how the utilization of the facility will look like. Now we also said that when we set this product, this item again, there is going to be a setup cost, the cost to change over from this to this. When we make a second cycle of the yellow, which is the second item, there will be a cost to change over from white to yellow. But we also have to note that in addition to the changeover cost, there is also a changeover time. So we have to assume now that this gap now has to be utilized for this cycle to be effective. This gap should be enough for the time of 3 changeovers, because somewhere we have to change over from white to yellow, yellow to blue and then blue to white, which simply means that if we are able to do something like this. Now this much is the changeover time to yellow and then the yellow cycle happens. Now this much is the changeover time for the blue, then the blue cycle happens, and then this much is the changeover time once again for white and the white setup happens. Now if we start looking at this problem from the point of view of the facility that is making, if I am making certain number of products, then I should be able to produce the cycle time for each product. It is desirable that the cycle time is the same, so that this cycle time would be the same as this cycle time. We have to draw this thing again little clearly. So there is a small time which is there, and then the yellow, and then there is some time here, and then the blue, and then there is some more time here, and then the white. So now we would like to have this cycle time same, this cycle time same, and so on. So the T has to be the same for all the products, so that we need to find that T, and then there will be individual times which you may call this as T1, this as some T2, this as some T3 and so on. The time you produce each of these items, then I should be able to build up inventory, and then I should be able to consume and so on. Now can we find out such a T is the next problem if we are given multiple items. Now this problem is called the economic lot scheduling problem. It is called the economic lot scheduling problem. It is called the economic lot scheduling problem, and then we will try and formulate this economic lot scheduling problem and try to solve it. Now if there are n items that we have to produce, there are n items that we have to produce. In this example we showed 3 items, the white, the yellow as well as the blue. For each item there is a setup cost, there is a inventory holding cost, right. So, for example, each item will show a figure like this, but the equipment will show figures like this. Now, if we take a particular item, the only condition is the cycle time T is the same for all the items. Capital T is the cycle time for all of them. So, if the cycle time is T years, then the number of times we produce is 1 by T. So many times in the year we produce. So, number of times we produce is equal to is equal to 1 by T. The production quantity is the total demand divided by number of times you produce. So, production quantity Q will be equal to D divided by 1 by T, which is dt. So, production quantity Q is equal to dt, right. So, for each item, so for the first item, if I find total cost is equal to setup cost plus inventory holding cost. So, setup cost is number of times we produce, which is 1 by T, and every time we produce we incur a setup cost of C naught. So, for a particular item, let us say TC1 or TCJ for the jth item, then the number of times we produce will be 1 by T. So, C naught by T is the total setup cost that we will have. Now, if C naught is the same for all the items, then we call it as C naught. If the jth item has C naught j, then this is the total setup cost for the jth item, C naught j by 2. Now, what is the inventory holding cost? The inventory holding cost is the average inventory into CC. Average inventory from here was IM by 2, IM by 2, total inventory is half into base into height. So, IM by 2 into T1 plus T2 divided by T, which is IM by 2 into CC. So, this is IMJ by 2 into CC of J, carrying cost of the jth item. We also know from this IM is equal to P minus D times T1 for this item, and it is equal to D into T2 for this item. So, from here we also know that IM is equal to Q into 1 minus D by P, because P minus D IM is equal to P minus D into T1, which is here, which is equal to D into T2 that we have here. So, IM by, and from similar, so from this we have IM is equal to the rate at which the inventory grows, which is, and Q is equal to D into T or D into T1 plus T2. So, from this we would have So, P into P minus D into T1. So, P T1 is equal to D into T1 plus T2. Sorry, Q is equal to P T1. So, dividing one by the other would give us I m is equal to Q into 1 minus D by P. This is an important equation. So, from here we know that this is C naught j by T plus I m is equal to Q into 1 minus D by P. So, Q j into 1 minus d j by P j into C C j divided by 2. And we also know that Q is equal to d t. So, C naught j by T plus Q j is d j T into 1 minus d j by P j into C C divided by 2. This is your T C j for all these items. So, C naught j by T plus C C j d j into 1 minus by 2 P j into C C. This is what we have. So, now we want to find out T such that we minimize the sum of the costs for all the items. This is for the jth item. So, we want to minimize summed over j for all the items, C naught j by T plus d j T 1 minus d j by P j C C divided by 2. So, we want to find out a T such that we minimize this. Actually, we observe that what we have written here is very similar to normally writing as d by q into C naught plus I m by 2 into C C. That is what we have done here, except that we have written it in terms of capital T. But the capital T should also satisfy another important thing, that the time that we have here in this cycle, say between this start and this start, should take care of the production times of all the items plus the changeover times of all the items. So, the cycle should satisfy an additional constraint, that it should be able to take care of all the production times as well as all the setup times. So, subject to the condition sigma, if Kj is the setup time for the jth item, note that C naught j is the setup cost for the jth item, Kj is the setup time for the jth item, plus what is the production time for all of them? Production time, production quantity is Qj, Qj is equal to P into T1, T1 is the production time. So, Pj into T1, so T1 is equal to Qj by Pj. So, production time is Qj by Pj, and Qj is dTj. So, this is dTj by Pj is less than or equal to dj into T by Pj is less than or equal to T. So, this is the objective function, this is the constraint. The only catch in this constraint is we have to rewrite this constraint, because the T term is here as well as here. Plus, of course, we have a situation that T greater than or equal to 0. Now, this problem is called the economic lot scheduling problem. In the next lecture, we will see how we solve this problem to get the optimum values of